On May 18, 1927, the entire world was celebrating Charles Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic. Newspapers, radio. Everyone was focused on one man in a plane, but while nobody was watching, something unthinkable was happening in a small town in Michigan. 38 people were killed. Most of them children. And the reason this was buried from your history books for nearly 100 years will leave you speechless. Bath Township, Michigan, 1920s. A quiet, peaceful farming community where everybody knew everybody. Kids played in the streets, neighbors trusted each other, and nobody, absolutely nobody, had any reason to be afraid. Andrew Kehoe was considered one of the most respected men in town. He was smart, well-dressed, and methodical. A farmer and electrician by trade, Kehoe was so trusted by his community that they elected him to the Bath Consolidated School Board, the man responsible for the safety of their children. But here's the contradiction. The man parents trusted most with their children was secretly planning to destroy them. Kehoe had a dark obsession with control. Everything in his life had to be perfect. His farm was immaculate. His tools were always organized. His plans were always calculated. Neighbors would later describe him as unnervingly precise. One neighbor said he never wasted a single move. But beneath that calm exterior, Andrew Kehoe was a man consumed by anger. He had lost a local election for township clerk. He believed the government was stealing his money through property taxes, and in his twisted mind, the school was the symbol of everything that was wrong with his life. He didn't just hate the system, he had already decided what he was going to do about it, and he had been planning it for months. Here is the most chilling part of this entire story. Andrew Kehoe didn't snap. He didn't act on impulse. He spent an entire year carefully, quietly, and methodically planting explosives inside Bath Consolidated School, and nobody noticed. As a school board member, Kehoe had unrestricted access to the building. He would come in during evenings and weekends. He told anyone who asked that he was doing maintenance work, fixing wires, checking the basement. Nobody questioned him, because why would they? He was one of their own. Foot by foot, he planted over 500 pounds of dynamite and pyrodol, a chemical explosive used in World War I, directly beneath the classrooms where children sat every single day. Think about that for a second. Every morning, parents sent their kids to school thinking they were safe. Every afternoon, teachers gave lessons completely unaware of what was beneath the floor. And every night, Andrew Kehoe came back and added more explosives. The contradiction here is almost impossible to believe. The man maintaining the school was simultaneously destroying it from the inside. By May 1927, Kehoe was ready. But he wasn't just going to blow up a school. He had something far more calculated in mind, a three-part attack that would ensure maximum devastation. And he had planned every single detail. May 18, 1927 started like any normal Wednesday morning in Bath Township. Children grabbed their lunch pails and walked to school. Teachers prepared their lessons. Parents went about their morning routines. The sun was shining. Nothing felt wrong. At 8:45 a.m., everything changed forever. A massive explosion ripped through the north wing of Bath Consolidated School. The force of the blast was so powerful that it launched debris hundreds of feet into the air. Entire classrooms collapsed instantly. Children who had been sitting at their desks just seconds earlier were buried under rubble, wood, and concrete. The screaming started immediately. Parents who heard the explosion ran toward the school with their bare hands, desperately digging through the rubble looking for their children. Teachers pulled survivors from the wreckage. Neighbors rushed in from across town. It was chaos. But here's the contradiction nobody saw coming. While everyone ran toward the school to help, Andrew Kehoe was watching from a distance, calmly, waiting. As rescuers, parents, teachers, and the school superintendent gathered at the scene, Kehoe slowly drove his truck toward the crowd. People recognized him and waved him over, thinking he was coming to help. He was not coming to help. Kehoe's truck was packed with metal shrapnel and dynamite. As he pulled up to the crowd of rescuers, he detonated it. The second explosion killed the school superintendent, a retired farmer, a second grader who had survived the first blast, and Kehoe himself. In total, 38 people were killed. 36 of them were children between the ages of 7 and 12. At least 58 more were injured. It was the single deadliest attack on a school in American history, and it still is to this day. When investigators finally got control of the scene and began searching through the rubble, they made a discovery that turned their blood cold. Beneath the south wing of the school, the wing that hadn't exploded, they found hundreds of pounds of unexploded dynamite still wired and ready to detonate. Andrew Kehoe had planted over 500 pounds of explosives throughout the entire school. Only half of it had gone off. If the second cache had detonated as planned, the entire school would have been leveled. The death toll would have been catastrophic. Potentially every child in that building. The only reason it didn't go off, the wiring had failed. A simple electrical malfunction had accidentally saved hundreds of lives. Investigators also discovered something at Kehoe's farm. Before driving to the school that morning, Kehoe had killed his wife, Nellie. Her body was found near a cart at the farm. He had also wired his entire property with explosives and burned it to the ground before leaving. He had not just planned an attack, he had planned the complete destruction of everything connected to him. His farm, his wife, the school, himself. And before he left that morning, he left a wooden sign wired to his fence. It read, "Criminals are made, not born." So why have you never heard of this? On the very same day as the Bath School disaster, May 18, 1927, Charles Lindbergh landed in Paris, completing the first ever solo transatlantic flight. Every newspaper in America, every radio station, every conversation was about Lindbergh. The deadliest school massacre in American history was buried on page 2, and in the weeks that followed, the story simply faded. Bath Township was a small community. There was no national push to keep the story alive, no social media, no viral moment. The town grieved quietly, rebuilt quietly, and the world moved on. For nearly 100 years, this story sat in the shadows of history. But here is what makes this story truly important today. Andrew Kehoe showed the world something terrifying, that the most dangerous people are not always the ones who seem unstable. Sometimes they are the ones who seem the most normal, the most trusted, the most calm. The parents of Bath Township trusted Andrew Kehoe with their children's lives, and that trust was weaponized against them in the most unimaginable way. 38 people died that morning, most of them children who had done nothing wrong except show up to school on a Wednesday. Their names deserve to be remembered. This has been the Bath School disaster, the darkest story your history teacher never told you. If this story shocked you, share it with someone who needs to know, and subscribe because next week we are uncovering another chapter of history that was deliberately buried.